for sake of understanding how to optimize your brain and access sleep. It also can help avoid a lot of anxiety issues. The peak output of the circadian clock for wakefulness, in other words, the peak of our wakefulness, and the suppression of the sleep signal actually happens very late in the day. So we have this trough of activity and body temperature is lowest right before waking. Then as we wake up, our body temperature goes up, and into the afternoon, it continues to go up, 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 and then it tends to fall in the evening and towards bedtime. But there's a brief blip of release of peptides and other substances from the sleep centers in the brain that signals the peak of alertness and wakefulness about an hour before bedtime. Now, that's often the time when people start stressing about the fact that they have something to do the next day, and they worry about not being able to sleep, and it can cascade into a whole set of things. I anticipate a peak in alertness and activity, and I don't worry about it. I use that perhaps to get organized for the next day, but basically I just go through, if I'm going to do anything, it's going to be very mundane tasks like cleaning or things that require almost zero effort, and that probably speaks to my cleaning abilities too. I tend to go to sleep somewhere around 10:30, 11, and if all goes well, I stay asleep for 4 or 5 hours. Typically it's 3 or 4, and then I wake up. What it probably reflects is that the real time, meaning the time that I should go to sleep, is probably closer to 8 o'clock. The word midnight was literally supposed to mean midnight. We were meant to go to sleep and wake up with the setting and rising of the sun. So I think that's the natural pattern, and we've just deviated from it with artificial lights. So waking up at 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. doesn't necessarily mean that there's something screwed up about you. What it likely means is that you were supposed to go to bed much earlier. And because of this asymmetry in the autonomic nervous system, where it's much easier for us to push and to delay our sleep time than it is to accelerate our wake-up time. In other words, it's easier to stay up and hang out at the party even if you don't want to be there than it is to wake up when you're exhausted and you're fast asleep. Most people are pushing through into the late hours of the evening and night and going to bed much later than they naturally would want to. And so I personally don't want to go to bed at 8 p.m. A lot of good things happen between 8 p.m. and 11 p.m. And so I want to enjoy those, and I push through the evening hours. But as a consequence, I'm running out of melatonin. My melatonin release is basically subsided by about 3 or 4 a.m. And so it makes sense that I would wake up. If I wake up in the middle of the night and I'm anxious for whatever reason and my mind is looping, I have a couple rules. One is I don't trust anything I think about when I wake up in the middle of the night. Any of it. There's just nothing either for me terribly creative or worth linear implementation at that time. But one thing that has been very helpful is to sometimes do one of these non-sleep deep rest protocols as a way to go back into sleep. Those for me have been very useful at helping me turn off kind of looping thinking in the middle of the night and fall back asleep.